Have you ever had a new puppy? Aren't they cute? They're really cute. In April of 2024, I got a new puppy from a cousin's farm. It was from an oopsie litter. I just broken my heart by losing my 15-year-old and my 14-year-old in quick succession. But my puppy was a free farmyard mutt puppy. And so I went up and got my cute little puppy. Her name is Olive, and you're about to learn about Olive. But I have a question for you. How much do you think a free farmyard mutt puppy should cost? It's a good question. So, as I am looking at budgets and everything else, I thought I would do a little experiment and add up how much my little free farmyard puppy has cost me over the last 2 years. And you've heard of the $6 million man and the $6 million woman. I'm just going to call her the 5-figure free farmyard pup. So join me to learn about the biography and the expense ledger of Olive. So I've had pets my entire life. I know they cost money. It's a commitment. When you get one, you're in, right? I'm all in. And so when I was going through a little heartache because not too long after my Sebastian and then my Ambrosia went over the Rainbow Bridge, I saw online that a cousin of mine had an oopsie litter. And the mother was, are you ready? Rottweiler, Beagle, and Basset Hound. And at the time, they thought the daddy was a St. Bernard mix. So I fell in love with a couple of cute little pictures that you see right here. And then, even though a few weeks later she started to fill out a little bit, her white was not white, meaning that the suspect went from the St. Bernard to the Australian cattle dog. And my sister has had healers her whole life. I know they're crazy. They're absolutely, these are animals that were built to be on the Australian outback. They were crossbred with dingoes, Dalmatians, and all types of other dogs. And their job is to tell 1-ton cows what to do. They're a little crazy. But I thought, certainly with all this mix, I'm ready for my own healer. And so I went up and got my little girl, Olive. And so I'm going to take you through a little bit of that experience. And so I am on my way up. My friend drove me up along the way. He convinced me to buy pet insurance. I had pet insurance before, normally for my older pets, never really used it, kind of thought it might have been a little bit of a waste of money. He convinced me, thank goodness, that perhaps it wasn't a waste of money for a puppy. Puppies get into things. You'll have to take her to the emergency room. You'll have to do all these other things. And so I did not bring my reading glasses on this trip. And so I went on my phone and I just signed up for the highest of everything and figured I'd do it later. Because when you have a mutt, the cost of pet insurance is actually pretty low. And so I'm going to show you some of that cost in just a little bit. So I pick up Olive, we come home and we have a good couple of months. And so my focus right now is going to be those few couple of months and what I consider very reasonable pet expenses for a puppy. So I'm going to share with that. And then, so I'm going to take you from April of 2024. Olive was born on Leap Day in February of 2024. Brought her home on April 27th of 2024. And the cost I'm going to share with you now goes to the end of June in 2024. So if you want to go ahead and start guessing, what are those reasonable first couple months expenses with the puppy? And I'm not counting things like the replacement of things that she might have ripped up. I'm just not going to include that. I'm just going to eat that piece. So let me go through and start sharing some numbers with you. All right, so let's start with the cost of pet insurance, because outside of the first deworming that I had, I reimbursed my cousin for that expense. The first expense I had was, like I said, on that ride up on the phone where I signed up for pet insurance. And so I pay pet insurance for Olive and or at least that time, $193.75. So that was a quarterly payment. Of that amount, and I'm going to come back to this at the end, of that amount, $85.75 was for the wellness plan. And then the other $108 was for the accident, illness, prescriptions, rehabilitation. Thank goodness I touched that. I clicked that button. And then the alternative therapies, which includes her chiropractic adjustment that she gets on a regular basis. And it would include acupuncture, but she's scared of everything in the world and definitely not going to sit there for needles. And then, so now I'm just going to go through the big categories. Later on, I'll break down other things as they come up. But this couple of months, very, very reasonable, made sense. So the first thing, well, over the counter medications, because I had to get some anxiety stuff for her right away. Because going from a farm where she was around cows and horses and a cousin's husband who drove an 18-wheeler, tractors, motorcycles, the suburbs were just a little too much for Olive. So she was frightened of motorcycles, trucks, cars, noises, people, birds, everything. So anyway, already from the very beginning, we have some over-the-counter anxiety medication for Olive, and that came out to $52.47. That's all right. Sounds reasonable. Big change for a puppy from the farm life to the suburbs. For food, for my puppy, from April through June, $119.77. Just basic Purina puppy pro food. Totally reasonable. Totally reasonable. For supplies, we have $69.45. That included some brushes, a new bed for her. For toys, I only had to spend $26.75 for all those months because everyone who came to meet Olive, because she's so cute, they brought her toys. So we have that. She's not allowed to really have a whole lot of toys anymore because let's just say she eats them and the fabric comes out of her butt. Yes, that's lovely. All right. Then we get to training. So at the end of June, I signed her up for a program that's really kind of like a gym. You pay a membership fee, then you pay a monthly fee, and you get to go to everything that you want to go to. And they are wonderful. They're called Paws and Possibilities, and they are out of Annapolis, Maryland. Highly, highly recommend. But they offer everything from virtual classes, which we needed because, you know, Olive, she really got anxious when we were around people, dogs, cars, trees, anything. So, you know. So we have virtual classes, especially getting up to her surgery, but I'm jumping ahead. But there was also puppy socialization classes, which she did great in. There were walking classes, there were confidence building classes, there was leadership classes, the little agility courses. So there's lots and lots of stuff. Like every day there were things that she could do. And so this is going to sound like a lot of money, but it includes, I think, $100 sign up fee. And then it was $147 each month afterward, mostly. And so for training, $247 is what I spent in June getting ready for training that really started in July. And then let's talk about vet bills. So at this point, all of her vet bills are reasonable, normal vet bills. She did have a little problem with the worms and had to be dewormed a few times, more than normal, but you know. So altogether, my vet bills were $531.80. Now that included a couple of puppy exams, it included her first shots, it included the deworming, it included a few other things. And so from that, though, I had from the pet insurance wellness policy that I'm going to show you in just a second, I was reimbursed $247 of the $531.80 in vet bills. And so that was out of pocket for me, $284.80 in vet bills in the first couple of months. So, all right, so everything added up. So all my expenses from April till the end of June for Olive, $1,349.10. Totally reasonable. I was reimbursed $247 for a total out of pocket of $1,102.10 for the first 3 months of Olive. I think that is reasonable for a puppy. So if you're getting a puppy or a dog, rescue dog, anything, there's just an upfront financial commitment to that. And so I am fine with that amount. But that's where we are so far. Now I want to talk to you quickly through the wellness policy. So what you can see here is the wellness policy is really kind of like prepaying for a few things. So I'm showing you up on the screen what's included in that $85.75 every quarter wellness policy. So altogether, I believe, yep, it's $343 for a year for the premium for the wellness policy. And you can see here for the entire year, I would be reimbursed up to $535. Now, nothing I got for Olive was less or equal to what was on the screen. Wellness exams are hundreds of dollars now. Microchip, that was 2 or 3 times that amount. Her spaying was almost $400, etc. But the point of this is you kind of prepay and you get a little extra. You have to be careful to use all those categories. And to be honest, I'm about to renew her pet policy, and I probably won't have the wellness exam because now she has her 3-year shots and she doesn't need to be spayed and a few other things. So I'm not going to probably renew that part, but that's how that works. So if you are interested in following along with Olive's journey and how it impacted my credit cards and how much I now love pet insurance and will never live without it, please go ahead and like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments, how much do you typically in the past have spent for the first couple of months for a new pet? So anyway, thank you for joining me for the biography and the expense ledger of Olive episode 1. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.